What's up, everybody? Ty Jack again, back with episode 3 of Tekken 9 Steve Fox Wishlist. And today I'm going to talk about the general state of the game and how I think Steve should play as a character in his base state, as in just his normal stance, how you move around with him and whatnot, and all the gimmicks that I would think are probably going to be in Tekken 9, or if they're not probably going to be there, at least going off of what we have now. So basically, I'm assuming heat is going to stay in some capacity. It might not be a whole heat state like this or anything like that, but I assume heat is going to be there in some form. So, the first change that I want to talk about is the idea of installs. Now, do I think installs as a whole should be removed? Yes. I think characters that have installs have them and they don't need them. And I think some characters that have them could use what they give them, but they should get them in a more basic state. Like, they shouldn't have to do anything special to get them. They should just have some of those things, just albeit in a less powered up variation. Like Brian Fury, he has Incinerator when he has Snake Eyes active, just as an example. And I'm sure it's punishable at the fourth hit and the fifth hit, but he should just have that move available to him normally, but in a less powered up state that it's just still punishable, and maybe does less damage and doesn't knock down, that kind of thing. Doesn't have to be anything like super game-breakingly changing. Now Steve, if he would happen to get an install, let's say install stay, I think Steve's install should be defensively based, not offensively based, because he is a defensive character by nature. So what I mean by that is, what could I really use as a Steve player that would benefit me defensively while punishing the opponent on their defense and in their offense? So, Steve wants you to punch into, or not just punch, but swing into him at his times. Well, if he happens to block a move, let's say I do, let's how should I put the dummy here? Let's put them on a standing block, and then we're going to go to punish, right? And we're going to have them do a simple one jab, just for an example. So if I do 2-1, he's going to jab at me, okay? What I think I should do with an install, if I have any variation of going into peekaboo, if I block that jab, I should be able to stay in peekaboo. That's what I think. Same as with flicker. I go into flicker, if I block, I should be able to stay in flicker. Now, what I think that should do is solely give Steve access to the moves in those stances without changing the frame data. So if I do 1-2-1 and I block Steve's jab, I will still be -1 and still in flicker, so it doesn't actually change as if I just did, 1-2-1 into flicker as is. That's just on a jab. So if someone does something like, let's say I have Steve do punish, and I set him to do, what's punishable? Power crush, right? I should be able to do a flicker 1 there, or a flicker back 2, which wouldn't punish then, but I should be able to do anything out of flicker from that. Same if I do 1-2-1 into peekaboo. I should have access to Steve's peekaboo moves in that moment, so I could essentially do a 1-2 out of peekaboo for a punish, but that's 12 frames. I got the punish there, but I could be able to do that just naturally. I wouldn't have to actually do a whole, input for it. Which I'm doing instant peekaboo forward 1+2. And hence, it just got blocked there. It would be a more natural flow into it. What does Steve have that's 13 out of this? I don't think he has anything. Off the top of my head, he doesn't. No. I could also actually do this. Well, not that. I'm trying to... Wow, he's tracking really well with that. Not that. I could essentially do a while standing 1+2, or yeah, a while standing 1-2, because I'm getting an instant crouch out of the peekaboo cancel. All that should be available to him with this quote-unquote possible install he could get. That's my opinion on that one. Now, as far as base Steve, I like everything that he has, but he is a counter hit character by nature. He should have his counter hit tools back. So, for example, now obviously on an armor that ain't gonna work. So let me switch this off to something just generally slower. What does he have? What does he have that's slow? Ah, boy. That's 17. So I could do 1, 2, 1. That should counter hit again. His Peekaboo 2. That should go. That should launch again. I think every move that Steve has normally that does that stun for his Lionheart, all of those should launch on counter hit. Now, granted, Peekaboo forward 2. Yeah, Peekaboo. Forward 3, forward 2, so it's duck forward 2. That does launch on counter hit. But I think Peekaboo 2 should give the same launch. Up back 2 should give the same launch. All on counter hit only. Now, that being said, all the moves that Steve has that give the +8 stun from that move, that should all give that crumple on counter hit. So the crumple that he gets there is what he should get if that hits on counter hit. Or if that hits on counter hit. He should all get that same crumple like that. Just to, you know, give more reward to the actual idea of a counter hit. Another counter hit he should get back, while standing 2. I understand that he has while standing 2-2 now, and that would take away from that, but you would allow to combo instantly into it. So for example, I could do that. Well, that was terrible, but just as an example, that could be a potential instant launch into a mid punch right away into Lionheart for the Tornado. This is also assuming Tornado is going to be the combo system, or the bound system as you would call it. As far as Peekaboo and Flicker go, as I wanted to talk about those in defensive stances, one thing I didn't mention in my Peekaboo and Flicker change is some of the moves I think he should be able to use in combo. And the reason I didn't talk about them then is because it's just changes to the stance itself, not necessarily moves for combos. So if he gets a big launch, I feel like Peekaboo forward 1+2 should be a similar spin as what 3-1-1 gives, because it's a big move. It gives the same, you know, float away, almost. But the reason being, I feel like this would be a good, you know, combo, you know, filler, if I can ever pull it off. That should be able to be a similar float. Even if it's not the same kind of tailspin, I feel like it should float enough to be able to continue the combo. The same goes for Flicker 1 down 1. That should also give some kind of float, possibly even the strong aerial tailspin, as it did in Tekken 7, because that was one of the combo systems. Like a similar combo would have been, and then you would run up and do your combo ender from there. That should still be a thing for him in this. Flicker 1 down 1 should, in fact, continue the combo. Other moves that I think should do more for him, potentially even for counter hit purposes, would be... Let me think about that here. Yeah, for counter hit purposes, I feel like his Peekaboo, his ducking, his strong duck 1, extended duck 1, that should give some kind of launch again, or just a better knockdown than just a quick follow-up. It might have to be a super hard combo, like potentially, like, you know, not that. Wow, I'm just messing everything up today. Like, it's just something. I know his full crouch down forward 2, that used to launch farther away, so you would have to start it with a forward 2-1. So even if it gave something like that, just to make it a little bit more harder, but yet you still got the reward for getting it, that's what it should do. His flicker 1 down 1 should also launch on counter hit again. At the moment it gives, not that. It gives that, which you do get a follow-up of some sort. It's plus 42, so you get a lot actually for it. But technically that is confirmable. There it is. That is natural. You can get that guaranteed. Even a combo. It'll even show combo at the same time. But it's very difficult. But either way, those are some things he should get on counter hit. What else should he get on counter? That's really it. That's really all I really want out of him, is just to be more defensively based, get more counter hits. Oh, I want 4-1-2 to be the shoulder uppercut launcher again. That would be awesome. That'd be a nice counter hit launcher for him. So, yeah, that's episode 3 in a nutshell. Not really much game breaking, just bring him back to what he used to be in a sense. You know, don't take more away from him. They took too much away from his identity in this game. I don't really like it. But he is still my guy, so we'll go from there. So, that's where this episode's going to end. Next episode, I don't really know what to talk about for him anymore. I really covered everything that would really be necessary in a, you know, game transition standpoint. It really wouldn't be anything else to really mention. So for the next episode, I might switch to a different character. If you have any suggestions on what character you want me to cover next, I will gladly do so. I do play King a bit, just haven't really touched him much in this game at all, because he just feels too heavy and like clunky compared to Steve for me. Like Steve just moves around better. But, again, all my opinion. So yeah, if you have any opinions and suggestions on what character you want me to cover next, let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch my video. Please, if you like the video, like it. Subscribe if you like. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care now. Bye-bye.